In this video, I'm going to introduce the /ans/ command. Here's how it works. Suppose that you've asked the student a question that maybe it's something like, what's the subject of the sentence? Maybe it's a big, complicated sentence, and based on your evaluation of the situation, you've decided that the best thing to do is just have the student guess what the subject is. And now if you monitor it yourself, it might be a little bit slow. So you can do, let's say that the subject of the sentence is dog. You can do /ans dog. What'll happen now is the student will be able to guess as quickly as they want. And whenever the student says dog, it'll say yes. And if the student says something else, it's going to say no. Now this / command needs to be used very carefully. There's a few things you should know. First, it'll only fire about 7 or so times before you have to redo it. The reason for that is in the initial days of using this command, we would let it go as many times as needed, and some students respond well to the command, and some students respond very poorly to the /ans thing. They start to freak out and have a psychological meltdown. The first day I used it, I put it on a student's channel, looked away for maybe 15 seconds. 15 seconds later, that student had basically already had kind of like a psychological meltdown, guessed maybe 50 or 60 times, and totally freaked out. Now, it's going to say yes to the correct answer and no to literally anything else the student says. So if the correct answer is dog and the student says cat, it'll say no. But if the student says, can you help me? It'll also say no. If the student says, I don't get this, it'll just say N. So it taps out after 7 times anyway, but just keep in mind how it works. If you do, to clear it, you can just type /ans by itself, and then that'll get rid of it. The other thing you can do is, let's say there's more than one possible correct answer, and you want to list all of them. And let's say there's two of them, right? Let's say it's dog. You would use dog and then a vertical bar for or, and then cat. In this case, if the student says dog or cat, it'll say yes. And if the student says literally anything else, it's going to say no. The /ans command is really good if a student, to encourage students to guess. A lot of times students like using this because they feel like they're not really being judged by a computer. They feel more comfortable just guessing wildly with a computer, and a lot of times getting them to that mode where they're willing to guess really helps them engage, and it's like the first step of real active learning. Is it active learning? Not exactly, but it's getting close. So the command is just /ans, short for answer, and then you list whatever the correct answers are, and it does only an exact match for those answers. Very important thing here is if the question is something like, what is an example of an animal, don't use the /ans command because you'd have to list 50,000 different animals. But if the question says what's the main verb in the sentence, you might want to use the /ans command. And this is obviously for things that are not already programmed into the arrays. This is something that you'd use a little bit more in an ad hoc way if you need to.